You want this higher? I think we need a little
No, is it? I don't know. Maybe.
Wow, what happened to the floor, right?
put oil there.
Put the warm book on there.
This is not his autobiography. This is another.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So
Otherwise,
it's
Jared's
unmuted.
books are here, bud.
Is it unmuted?
Yeah.
That should be on about 22, quarter two. That'll come on.
It's already 48 people on.
Really?
Yeah. he's on. Okay, so what we can do is just mute you.
Charleston, I will not forget to feed you again today. Why did you forget the first time? I forgot last night.
How's it going? See you muted there. There we go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Wait a sec. I can't hear you. Let me just fix my story here. My audio. There we go. Got you. How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Got you. How's it going?
Okay, great. Lekker new, my boetie.
Good. Yeah, so I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to put up that countdown timer with the poster just so everyone knows. Welcome to the 68 people that are here already. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're going to be going live officially at 7 o'clock. Such exciting stuff lined up with your host Barney and amazing panelists. I see Howie is here as well. His camera's off at the moment, so I'm sure Howie will unmute himself shortly. And cool. So I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Benji.
Hello, Howie. How are you?
I'm fantastic. The time is about 12 minutes to 8, and we've already got about 200 people who've logged on and have joined our pre-show. So welcome to you, Benji. And hello, Bonnie. Nice to see you. You'll need to unmute yourself.
Hello, Howie.
Hello. Nice to see you, Jesse. Nice to see you too. Welcome. Nice to have you on the show.
Thanks, man.
We can see who is sitting
Hello,
in
Krill.
Johannesburg and
BBG.
where people are based on the clothing that they're actually wearing. So Bonnie, there's no doubt that you're in Johannesburg or the
Yes.
North Pole, one of the two.
Johannesburg.
We can tell by the clothing.
Yes.
Jesse, where are you?
I'm in Heberdean down the south coast in KwaZulu-Natal.
My goodness. And it looks a little chilly there as well.
A little bit chilly, a little bit of a cold front here, but nothing. I don't think it's as bad as Joburg from what I'm hearing.
No, we're all immigrating, those of us in Joburg. We can't live in this weather.
Hello, Benji.
Hello, Bonnie. How are you today?
How are you, Benj?
Bonnie, you put together a hell of a crowd. Hey, Jesse, it's such an honor to see you and to be around you, and you as a hero in our community.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me, Bonnie. Thanks for organizing this. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Lekker.
So you
There's
know,
one of a KP on the line. Kev?
normally Benji has hundreds of medals behind him, but he gets so embarrassed that we're not allowed to talk about them. So he's replacing all these Ironman and Comrades medals with posters now. Jesse, it's so embarrassing.
Jesse, he embarrasses me
Yeah,
every week. I don't know where to put myself. I don't know. Maybe you can help me, Jesse.
Did you do anything for Sunday or for the run for the?
No, we know, Jesse, when I'm talking to a World Cup winning star, we're not talking about Jewish males athletic
100%,
performances. I can promise you that. I'd rather hear about how you're keeping yourself fit now.
Yeah, no, there's obviously it's been lucky. We're based on a farm down the south coast, and a lot of space, and been able to run, and yeah, it's been good. I've been very lucky not being stuck in an apartment in Tokyo where I'm currently playing. So been very fortunate and was quite stoked to get back here before the whole lockdown started.
Yeah.
So enjoying being back.
When you're getting married, Jesse?
Not anytime soon. Not anytime after I've been at the BBG Valley again.
Okay. Jesse,
Sounds like
Jesse, I'm going to
that's
chat to you about
adult
I'm going to chat to you about the World Cup. I'm going to chat to you about the leadership in that team, what made it so great, all the leaders in that team. We'll talk a bit about your history, where you come from, and your twin brother, and a bit about Maritzburg College, and about Springbok rugby. All right.
Awesome. Perfect.
Jesse, most importantly, what do you farm on the farm?
My girlfriend and them farm macadamia nuts, and they've got some sugarcane, and yeah, they've got a bit of everything over here.
I believe South Africa's become the largest producer of macadamia nuts in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I actually heard that the other day. I think
Really?
if you come down to the south coast, it's all you see. You just see nuts everywhere. So.
and
Are we still
tell me,
talking about farming, Tracy?
just nuts.
Yeah, check.
And
When I'm nuts here, what's going on?
and Jesse, where in Tokyo were you living?
Literally about 30 minutes outside of the center of the city, a place called Wakabadai, and yeah, playing for the Cannon Eagles. Yeah, it's been an awesome experience so far.
And how's your Japanese?
It's okay. I was going
So wakarimasen.
Wakarimasen, not too good, exactly. Yeah, going for like once a week, and yeah, just trying to fit into the whole culture and just the whole setup there. It's been really cool and something that I needed in my career and life, I suppose, as well. It's been cool.
It's an amazing country. I think to be able to spend some time there and live amongst something so different to the world we used to must be such an incredible experience.
Yeah, it's power. I mean, Japan is such a cool spot. Everything works, and the people are really kind as well. And I think the rugby's been exciting and it's fast paced and it's very good. So I've been enjoying that.
My favorite part of Japan, I dressed up as a Mario Kart character, and I went racing through the streets of Tokyo in one of those little go-karts while
Did you-
dressed
did
up as
you-
a cartoon character?
You did that with Brian because I saw Brian was doing that
Yeah.
racing streets on
no.
Brian Abana.
yeah, he just had a better
Who's
outfit.
he? Who's he again?
Hello,
Hey,
Brian.
Who's he again? Evening, gentlemen.
Hello, Bronny.
Happening.
for joining us,
Brian,
Brian.
how's it? We busy discussing whether you dressed up as a Mario Kart character and went through the streets of Tokyo on a go-kart.
Would you be able to live if you haven't done that yet?
You know, that's my view in life. Exactly. It's one of my favorite experiences ever.
No, it was pretty epic. Yeah, I got to spend 6 weeks in Japan, so I had to get off the bucket list. It was pretty cool. Luckily managed to organize my international driver's permit, which a lot of people didn't actually do. It afforded them the ability not to do it, which was something I could throw back in everyone's faces. So all good.
It's such an amazing city to spend time in. So we've just been talking to Jesse about living in Tokyo and experiencing Tokyo. Jesse, have you ever gotten up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the tuna auctions?
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, no,
no.
that's the 4 o'clock in the morning. No, I did definitely go to the fish market. So I was fortunate. We met up with a guy, like a British citizen who sort of married a Japanese woman 30 odd years ago. She then forced him to go back to Japan, and they took over the family business. So I got to go into the Japanese only section of the fish market, which was incredible. Really, really cool. So I didn't do the auction at 4 o'clock in the morning, but I was there at 7:30, and incredible to witness.
I stood in a line for 5.5 hours to get a seat at Sushi Dai to be able to have some of the best sushi in the world. It was quite an experience. Cool. And so where are you joining us from, Brian?
Beautiful Cape Town. Is there any other city in the world?
Well, I have been watching. I've been watching on Instagram through Juan some food deliveries that you've been doing in Cape Town over this period. Won't you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, pretty cool. Obviously, this pandemic and the need from a food security perspective has only highlighted the massive disparity between the rich and the poor. And from a foundation perspective, sort of the Brian Abana Foundation had to change the objectives because just trying to play its part and collaborate. And there's been some hair-raising experiences over the course of the last 6 weeks. But it's been brilliant to sort of get out into communities firsthand and sort of see the appreciation. And I think on the second weekend, we were doing some stuff with the Red Cross, and like even they were saying, there's such a massive shortage of so many different things, and people can potentially go without food for a day or two, maybe even 3. But as soon as they sort of start losing hope, then everything goes pear-shaped. So it's been great. To be brutally honest, in comparison to everyone else and what they're doing, sort of made a little bit of a dent. But I think every little bit helps, and it's been pretty cool to have partnered with some and collaborated with some great foundations, initiatives, and hopefully we don't stop when this pandemic ends. I think my foundation objectives will potentially have to realign initially from its first idea of youth leadership to literally trying to be there for humanitarian aid. But it's only highlighted what is a very disparity big environment at the moment. And like that, I don't know how South Africa is going to come out of this in any way positive. And then we bail SA out for another 12 billion rand. It's going to be interesting.
Well, isn't it though remarkable, because we keep on saying to people that COVID has really brought out the best in absolutely everyone. We've never seen such kindness.
Maybe not our politicians. Maybe not
the politicians, and maybe not those people at SAA. I don't know if you saw my friend Gideon Novik announce that he wants to start a new airline. That there's probably no better time in the world to start an airline when you can pick up aircrafts for nothing and the fuel price is next to nothing, and you're not burdened with huge amounts of debt and a history of maladministration and mismanagement.
Yeah, Jess is actually looking to buy one of those A380s. I mean, his monthly salary covers maybe about 4 or 5 of them.
Ron's got his own airline.
I reckon.
Well, we've seen him fly on the rugby field. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, my own airline. Stay at home Airways.
So, Brian, how are you staying fit during this process? We know Jesse's running up and down the Damien farm.
I'm not. I've been staying fit for the last 2 years. My wife last at me about 6 months ago, and I took my shirt off, and sort of made me feel really bad when there was a little piece of flab hanging over my my belt. So yeah, that is anything in my vocabulary or dictionary or way of life at the moment. So trying to entertain 2 boys under 6 is something that is the only form of exercise I'm getting. I got a watt bike a few weeks ago. I think I've only been on about 4 times. So yeah, it is actually, it was always incredibly disappointing being in the same vicinity as Jesse Creel, because like it's Clark Kent again against the Teletubby, and now it's like freaking Clark Kent against the Loch Ness Monster. So
That's okay.
Well, Brian, look at it this way. Your wife can't leave you during lockdown. She's not allowed to.
Technically, that's not true. Just depends where she goes to. Just depends where she goes to, eh? I mean, apparently the rise in applications for divorce has skyrocketed over the course of lockdown. And not trying to make any jokes, but yeah, things like gender-based violence and things that have really come to light. So grateful for a roof over my head. Grateful, that again, homeschooling was a totally different ball game. I'm not gonna lie to you. Gee, like this Zoom call is great, but trying to do 6-year-olds in a Zoom call for 13 weeks was really interesting.
Yeah.
So
how our 6-year-old Brian put on his Zoom, he put on his Zoom name, he put Boris Johnson. And so then the teacher phoned us, said, I don't know what you want us to do about that. So he put on Boris Johnson. So I hear you on trying to homeschool little ones, but it's one of those very big privileges just to have those, like that ability to even be able to educate our children. When you see that disparity on eating, it's on food and that.
It's massive. I'm not quite sure whether the 30% discount the school gave us was valid, because I was doing about 80% of the work and then was worrying about homework and stuff, and this for a 6-year-old. So no, I think I've always had a massive level of respect for teachers, educators, that environment. But yeah, it's been adverse conditions, and again, it is a fortunate one that you can sit on Zoom calls, can educate your children. But I think you look at some of those, those environments where learning material, parents trying to get emails, trying to do things with 2-3 kids. We had it pretty easy, to be brutally honest, and hopefully, things try and normalize in the not too distant future.
Yes, Brian, you think you got it bad? Benji's got 6 kids at home. Try that.
No, they said, one of the things that you learn is that actually your kid was the problem. That it wasn't the teacher. It was actually your kid. No, but we've been really lucky in terms of, I think about it often in terms of the access to education, even while being on lockdown, compared to many people that I work with who just, it's really a challenge. The whole disparity on income, on education, on food. I think it's one of our big challenges in the country. Huh?
Yeah, and I mean, this pandemic has just highlighted it, if anything, and it's not going away, and has made it incrementally worse on so many different levels. So yeah, like I said, I think with a peak they're saying in maybe August, or hopefully August at the latest. It's going to be interesting. Hopefully our medical system has now also been sorted, because if this thing literally starts spreading like wildfire, I think it's going to be difficult to contain. But all exciting.
It's looking a little dangerous, particularly in the Western Cape at the moment, I must say. The figures are not looking good.
Is that because our testing is maybe better? Like Donald Trump said, we only have cases because we're testing. Hey, imagine if you didn't test.
If you don't test, you got no cases.
You got no cases. So everyone, the time is 1 minute past 7, and I want to welcome everyone who's watching us. We've got about 1,000 people busy watching us at the moment, and you'll see the room will fill up even more as the evening progresses. So a huge thank you, number one, to Benji for putting all of this together. To Barney Gernon. Barney, thank you. We've known each other for many, many years, and you are a true doyen of this industry. So thank you so much for putting this remarkable panel with such amazing people together for everyone. So on behalf of the South African Jewish Report newspaper, I want to welcome everyone tonight. This is, in fact, our 27th Zoom get-together. When we started about 3 months ago, we thought we'd have one single panel and we'd have a medical Q&A. And as life has it, life had other plans for us. And 27 panels later, we've had doctors, we've had psychologists, we've had health people, we've had nutritionists, we've played games, we've had talent competitions. But we've really gone out to educate, inform, and entertain really the population of South Africa. Last week, for those of you who watched, you may have seen we had Simon Sinek on the panel, and we had about 30,000 people busy watching that. To our panel, which kick-started the South African economy, we had about 20,000 people on that one, and about 8,500 people tuned in to talk about whether it was safe to send their kids back to school. A huge thank you as well to Dan Stillerman. Dan Stillerman, the king of Zoom, and maybe captain of tonight. Dan, welcome. Thank you for making sure that our rugby balls are well pumped up, that our cricket balls are in fact polished, and maybe that our soccer balls are made out of the best leather. Dan, make sure
our boots are shined. Yeah, thank you, Howie. And evening, Brian, evening, Jesse, evening, Benji, Barney. It's a privilege to be on the panel with you guys. I'll be behind the scenes most of the time, making sure that everything's running smoothly.
Dan, thank you again for absolutely everything. We always say that he's both captain of the team and he brings on the oranges at halftime. So Dan, a huge thank you to you. Just before we begin, just a reminder for those people who haven't seen it, that this coming Saturday night, in fact, we're doing a toast, a l'chaim, to the people of South Africa. Should we take Jesse and Brian, can you do l'chaim with a proper l'chaim? So the
This is what's name Gremlins, modern technology Gremlins. Jesse's on mute. L'chaim.
Jesse's l'chaim. So you toast to life, l'chaim. And we thought in these times on Saturday night, in fact, we're going to do a l'chaim to the people of South Africa. And we've got the most unbelievable lineup. So Goldfish are joining us from the United States, doing a live hour-long set for us. We've got Lyra and KO, who's the biggest rapper in South Africa at the moment. We've got Majosi and PJ Powers. Danny Biton will be belting out songs from a balcony in Cape Town. We've got comedians Alan Committee and Barry Hilton and Louis Ogola. All of them are going to entertain us on Saturday night, and we're all going to be toasting l'chaim, l'chaim, a toast to the people of South Africa. So if you haven't registered, please go register. It's a free concert. It's a night of entertainment, of laughter, of fun, of music. And we just thought that at this time in South African history, this is probably the best time we could ever have, just to have a good laugh and a good time together, because Jews, no matter how good or bad it is, we always toast to the exact same thing. We toast l'chaim, l'chaim to life.
L'chaim.
So Brian, you got your pronunciation right. You could definitely do a l'chaim, hey?
Yeah, definitely. Barney, I just want to ask, is buffalo sort of a thing in the Jewish culture, or is Howard? Sorry, I'm just throwing it out there.
Howard, you got a drink in your left hand, eh?
Howard, can you just finish that, please?
So just finish that one while you're at it. L'chaim. There we go, Howard.
L'chaim. Jesse, could we hear you? L'chaim.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. We'll see you guys on Saturday night.
Please send the babysitter for my 2 kids. Thanks, Howard.
Okay, well, how about this? We'll send you some Fitch and Leeds, and we'll send you some gin, and you can have a good time on Saturday night.
Now, Jesse knows I'm a Malibu and pineapple type of guy. I know I get ripped off quite a bit within the rugby circles with that. But given the amount of beers I had to down through the course of my 17th career, Malibu's actually made it a lot easier. And I think actually inspired the next generation. So there were quite a few bottles of Malibu floating around those Kentuckys when I finished that.
Yeah, if I can give you guys a tip, just send the whole case to Brian if you're gonna get.
Well, can we make any alcohol out of macadamia nuts there, Jesse?
We could probably get a nice macadamia nut Malibu made down here. See what we can.
Deal, guys. I'm going to see you a little later on. Just a huge welcome and a thank you to all of you. And Benji, I'd like to hand over to you.
So Barney, firstly, thank you to you and your team, to Joel, to Neil, Barney. Just one call to you. You handled everything. Howie's very nice about me. I did nothing. I just knew you. So thank you for everything you've done. And I know, Barney, that this week is quite an important week for you and your family. there's a South African hero who's, I think, your uncle, Sid Nomus, who unfortunately passed away 4 years ago. And we want to make this in his memory. So tell us a bit about him.
Well, it's actually 2 years ago. He died on the 16th of June. He actually died on the day that we beat England in Bloemfontein to win that series. It was Siya Kolisi's first test series as a captain. He died the day of that test on the 16th of June. So today, this week is the 2-year anniversary of his death and his passing. And what we're going to do as MSC Sports, because we've got Brian and Jesse here, and you know, Sydney Nomus loved one wing in his life, and it was Brian Habana. I mean, he really loved watching Brian Habana play. But obviously, Sid Nomus, the most capped Jewish Springbok of all time, scored some of the most famous tries in Springbok history, a very, very famous Springbok, and the pride and joy of my family. And in his name and in his memory, and with Brian and Jesse on the show, MSC Sports will be making a donation to the Chris Berger Petro Jackson Fund, which does such an unbelievable job looking after our rugby players who got very bad injuries on the rugby field, the young kids who break their necks and their spines. And what a great job they do, and what a great charity that is. So we are going to make a donation in my uncle's name to the Chris Berger Petro Jackson Fund.
Brilliant. And
Awesome.
Bonnie was part of the minion, the
Well, there's
Springbok
10 Jewish
minion.
Springboks, correct? 10 Jewish Springboks. He was part of the minion of the 10 Jewish Springboks. He played the most. He even played more than Joel Stransky, who played in the modern era. So yeah, that's how good Sid Nomus was. But never mind that, he was even a better person and a great guy, fun to be around. And my family are just always so proud to be part of his family.
It's amazing. When I looked up today, just to try and see a bit more, there was one article after another that just simply said what a great guy he was and what sort of person he was about. And just from every source, not only your family, from everywhere, just what a man she was. And just his memory should be blessed, and your family should celebrate in his memory. And we're so proud to play a part in remembering him, and remembering him from June the 16th, a couple of years back. And just thank you for letting us play that part with you in remembering him.
Thank you very much, Benji. And I wish his wife, Anne, my auntie, who's been in hospital, she's out of hospital now, and I wish her all the best as well. I know she could be watching now. And the coach, Gavin Hunt, has just joined us as well.
Great.
So yeah, we're ready to go here.
Great. And just before we kick off, we're going to have, I know Barney's going to be a bit frustrated, but we've got a video here from Barney's company, just showcasing a little bit of what they do. Dan, if you could play it. And Barney, thank you again. Guys, it's such an honor to have all of you. And we look forward to chatting a bit later. Thanks, Barney.
Thank you very much, Benji.
Gotta tell you, gotta tell you, gotta tell you,
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Benji. I would like to welcome everybody watching. I know we've got quite a big crowd out there, which is great because we do have a fantastic panel. Just to let you know what's going on here tonight, we do have obviously the two Springboks. We've got Jesse Kriel and Brian Habana, and one of South Africa's greatest ever football coaches, the very successful Gavin Hunt, a man who's managed in more PSL matches than any other coach, a most experienced man. He's had quite a tumultuous week, which we'll be talking to him about. And then later on at 7:30, around 7:20 to 8, we'll have the two cricketers joining us, Graham Smith and Kevin Peterson, two old adversaries. Kevin's in London, Graham's in Cape Town, and they will be joining us a little bit later as well. I am going to start off with rugby, and we're going to start off with Jesse Kriel, who's in Hibberdine. Thank you for joining us, Jess. You know, that World Cup last year was one of the greatest days of anyone's life in this country. You are part of that squad. And tonight we are talking a bit about leadership. And I'd like to know from Jesse, is leadership that important in a very successful rugby team? I'm sure it is. And how good was the leadership in this current Springbok team, right from the top, from Rassie Erasmus down to the captain, who was such a great leader, Siya Kolisi, what a story he wrote. And then there were other leaders in that team as well. Jess, what a big role did leadership play in that fantastic victory last year?
Yeah, Barney, thanks so much once again for having me on this tonight. I think it's awesome, and I think your Uncle Sid would be watching down and be very proud of you tonight. I think on the leadership part and thing you just brought up, I think obviously a massive success, or part of the success that the Springboks achieved was definitely this whole leadership point you've just spoken about. And I think when you speak about guys like Rassie, I think he actually allowed guys and gave guys the responsibility and the permission to go out there and lead and do and live on that rugby field. And I think guys like Dwayne, guys like Handré Pollard, Siya Kolisi, when he brought back a guy like Schalk Brits, bringing all that experience back into the squad and all that leadership, I think it allowed other guys, younger guys coming into the squad to also put up their hand and start leading from in their own positions and playing really well. So I think Rassie definitely started that off when he got in when he came into the squad with a guy like Jacques Nienaber, and he built that whole management team with guys like Mzwandile Stick, who's a great leader, came in and also took ownership of his role. I think guy like Matt Proudfoot also did really well when he came in, and Rassie gave the guys the ownership and asked the guys to take ownership of their roles. And I think it was awesome because we all in our own little way were allowed to lead, and I think that really brought out the best in each individual in the squad.
Brilliant, Brian. I know you in your day played under some great leaders as well. I mean, 2007, John Smith, one of our best captains ever. You played under Victor Matfield, who was a pretty darn good leader as well. How important was leadership in those days in your side in 2007 when you won the World Cup in France?
Bonnie, yeah, just quickly on Jesse, thanks very much for having me. Actually, a funny story, I walked into your uncle. I'll never forget I think it was in the Pick and Pay, or was it the Checkers in Cresta? I can't remember the ones sort of in the middle there, the Checkers or Pick and Pay, whatever. So I was sort of walking, and obviously I sort of fairly new in rugby and didn't really know, or hadn't watched rugby sort of pre-95, and didn't really know your uncle. And sort of walking there, and I was literally taking some veggies off the shelf, and he sort of tapped me. I think he still had like a cane or something, or tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey boy, how are you?" And I'm like, "Good, thank you." Like just thinking, another fan, whatever. He goes, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "No, sorry, like I don't really know." He goes, "I'm Mr. Nomus." And I'm like, obviously I'd heard of Sid Nomus and sort of was in a bit of awe, and it's just the most gentle soul, shared some wisdom, about, the privilege it is to be a Springbok. And again, I think the way he characterized not only his whole persona around rugby, but, the way he conducted himself as a person, was infectious. Got to then meet him on a few occasions post that initial one. And again, the manner in which everyone speaks about him, the respect he commands was pretty special. So I think, to you and your family in memoriam, a really great man that, again, etched some real good history within the Springbok culture. And then on leadership, I think any organization, any success that is achieved, can only be achieved if leadership is good. And like Jesse alluded to, it wasn't just John and Victor. It was the likes of, Os Durant, Percy Montgomery, a Jean Smith, a Farid Freer, and in those leadership entities, bringing in their own style and skill. Someone like Eddie Jones, who'd had that experience in 2003, who'd been able to do some great things. And for any team or any environment to be successful, you want to be following people that, first of all, know what they're doing, command respect into the manner in which we're going to be doing it, are respected not only by their teammates, but by their opposition and peers as well. And I think, that rise through 2004, 5, 7, 9, that was probably one of the best years of my rugby career. The stark in contrast was that the leadership, always took responsibility and ownership. And I think that was great. And like Jesse, extremely privileged to have worked under some unbelievable leaders throughout the course of my rugby career.
Great. I mean, you were both at that World Cup. Jesse, I'm going to go back to you now. You obviously went to the World Cup, part of the preparation, played the All Blacks in the opening game. You came on and you got injured. You had to go home. When you left that team after they lost to the All Blacks, when you flew back, did you honestly think that they could still win this World Cup, Jesse?
Yeah, Barney, absolutely. I think this whole thing started like 18 tests before. And I think as we started getting more and more confidence and as we grew stronger as a squad, I think the self-belief kind of became a snowball effect. And I think guys really started to believe. I think obviously having some good results go our way, like that Wellington test and a few others, I think guys really, we had a good method and Rassie had obviously had a good plan. And like Brian alluded to, all the leaders were bringing a good plan every week to the table, and guys were agreeing on the plan, and we were going out there and executing. So I really do think, and I can honestly say that I did believe we were going to win the World Cup when I was flying home, and I think every single player did as well. I remember arriving back on the week, or obviously just before the final on the Thursday, and arriving, and I just remember all the guys just having that confidence, just walking through the hotel, all team meetings, things like that, guys on the bus on the way to the final. You could just see that guys just knew, if you look in their eyes, guys knew that we were ready for this, and guys knew that we were going to win the World Cup. So yeah, I think definitely answering your question, I definitely thought we'd win the World Cup.
Okay. We're going to get to Gavin Hunt just very shortly. And Brian, back to you. You were at that World Cup. I saw you getting very emotional on the field. But I know you're a massive fan of Siya Kolisi, Brian. In fact, you were playing when he made his Springbok debut. That World Cup win last year, you've said it before, is probably our best win ever. Is that true? I'm talking about 95, 2007, and 2019.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, Bonnie, 95 will probably go down as the most iconic, sporting moment, that South Africa definitely has, given the fact that we had it in our country, given the fact that Nelson Mandela, came with that aura, against all odds, beating number one team in the world, in New Zealand, the threat that was Jonah Lomu and all that. And again, that unification was critically important at the young infancy of, our democracy. And I think being in Japan, and I did get, quite emotional a number of times throughout the course of the week, talking about his story, because, if you look back to 95 as a player of color, you only had Chester Williams. You look back to 2007, it was myself and JP actually on the field. You had the likes of Ashton Williams, Enrico January, Gertrude Steenkamp. But I think where 2019 really resonated with us as South Africans is that we had real stories. We had Siya Kolisi, who was watching the 2007 Rugby World Cup in a shabby in the Eastern Cape of Zwede, because his grandmother, who was raising him, couldn't afford a TV, in their home or in their shack. You had Makazole Mapimpi, who had to walk 10 kilometers to and from school every day just to try get out of his circumstance. And I think those real, tangible, emotional narratives that resonate with 60% of our population, that resonate with people that can really be inspired to dream and hope and see something bigger than their current circumstances. I mean, I never came, from an underprivileged background, so I can't really relate to Siya's story. I can't relate to Makazole's story. And if I didn't make the success of my life, whether that be rugby or business, it would be down to my own doing. It wouldn't be down to the fact that I went to bed hungry and had to go to school the next morning just to get a sandwich that had peanut butter and jam on. And, I say it's the best Rugby World Cup we had, because looking at where we came from, 2016, 17, to the change of guard under Rassie Erasmus, to then building up, becoming the first team to lose a Rugby World Cup game, to go on and win it, become the first team to win the Southern Hemisphere Tri-Nations Rugby Championship, to then go on and win it, to become the first Springbok team to score tries in a World Cup final, which probably doesn't say much about me or my ability to score tries. Those real stories that resonated. And I tell everyone, I was fortunate enough to be in Japan for 6 weeks. And the Springboks winning was literally just a cherry on the cake, but the cake itself was one of the most phenomenal cakes I've ever eaten. And I love my sweet things, you can ask Jesse. So it was absolutely brilliant. And again, seeing how it impacted South Africa, seeing how those real stories resonated with so many people, and seeing how people could tangibly be united because of true stories was absolutely incredible. And 95 and 2007 just unfortunately didn't have those.
Oh, thank you very much. Gavin Hunt, welcome. Gav? Coach, you there?
Can you hear me?
on mute.
Yeah, there we go. We can hear you now, Gavin.
Sorry, I struggle to work a TV remote, let alone flipping computer.
I saw you just now. I don't know why I can't see you now. Gav, just welcome. And obviously, it's been quite a tough week for you with Bidvest Wits being sold. And you've done such a great job at that club. I mean, winning the league for the first time in 97 years and winning 2 cups for them. Must have been a sad week for you.
Yeah, terribly sad, Barney. It's an institution. It's a Wits University has been around. I don't know how many years the university, but the football club has been around. Next year will be 100 years. It's the oldest club in the league. Yeah, and to be sold and like it has been this week has really been sad, especially for all the players, the coaching staff, and all the players that have been before and people that were there, the administrators. It's really been a sad. And as you've seen in the media the last week, Raymond Hack and Ronnie Schloss and people that have been there, I don't know how many years. So they've all come out and made statements. So it's really a sad occasion that the club's going to just disintegrate into nothing.
You still got 6. How many games you got left this season still? You've got quite a few.
We've got 9 and still obviously in the semi-final of the Cup, you know.
The Cup, yeah. Gav, you've coached some great sides. I mean, your success is legendary, starting with SuperSport, you know, when they'd never won the PSL, you won 3 in a row there, and then coming to Wits, also winning the league for the first time, as I said, in 97 years and winning 2 cups. In your great soccer teams, how important was great leadership on a soccer field? I'm talking about the captain and having leaders within the squad.
I think the most important thing is, Barney, is to create a culture. And then the culture, the team itself runs the club and runs the team. You don't need a coach, but you've got to create, a coach has got to create that culture whereby you're creating leaders within the group that check up on a daily basis. When players are not pulling their weight or whatever, you don't need the coach to stand there every day and bollocking players and whipping players and, you know, having a go. And if you've got a good culture, and that's something that football clubs need to create. You know, the great sides, the Man Uniteds, the Barcelonas of the world, that's what they create. And then they've got people just coming in, and it's like a conveyor belt. And that's the most important thing. And that, like the Springbok rugby team, you know, when the guys go out, the next one should be coming in, and there's a culture there that they know that certain things are that you have to do. And that's what I try and create in a football club. So basically, all I'm doing is just looking and touching on things on a daily basis. That's pretty much what I try and create, you know.
Coach, there's big interest now because obviously the Premiership in England's back. Everyone's very excited. We saw 2 games last night. Not the best games I've ever seen. A pretty poor Arsenal team against Man City. Very bad for the Arsenal fans. Coming up on Friday night, Spurs are playing Man United. And I want to hear your thoughts on that game. And then obviously the big Liverpool derby. Liverpool are playing Everton at Goodison Park on Sunday. Your thoughts on those 2 games?
Well, firstly, it was very difficult to watch the games with no supporters last night. I mean, I thought Man City were fantastic. The longer the game went on, I mean, they were really good, and the precision and the passing was really good. Arsenal, as I said, I think they were really poor. I mean, David Luiz, he should hang his head in shame, the 2 errors he made last night. But all in all, it's good that it's back. At least we can watch some football. The game's coming up. I mean, Spurs, you know, I think Spurs need to, I would say, clear a little few players out. There's a lot of contractual problems there. As you know, with football players, not like rugby players. Football players play up. You know, rugby players, they won't, you know, they don't duck and dive. Football players, you know, I think they should clear out a lot there. And once they do that, Mourinho can build his own team. I think Man United are coming in the right way, the right direction at this point in time. They spent a lot of money. Obviously, not much success the last few years, but they will come. But it's going to be very interesting. Liverpool certainly win the league. We all know that. There's no problems there. But to watch football with no supporters, it's like anything, rugby, cricket. I mean, to watch the golf the other night was very difficult as well.
Yeah.
You know, no supporters. Yeah. But it's good that the live sport is back. At least people have got some interest again.
Right, Jesse, I'm going to come back to you, Jess.
Yeah, Barney.
I saw you at that World Cup final, you and Trevor Inyakani. What a character he is, that Trevor, a wonderful young man, sitting very near the coach box, very near where the coaches were sitting. And when we were scrumming the hell out of them, you and Trevor were going absolutely crazy. Just tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I don't want to let you know what was coming out of the coaching boxes when you were winning those penalties. But I definitely think that was the whole set piece throughout that World Cup final was definitely one of the pillars and one of the things that won us that game that night. I think with a guy like Andre Pollard kicking as well as he does for touch, and I think it's something that people don't normally notice. I think if Andre, when he kicks for touch after getting a penalty, he kicks the ball 50 or 40 to 50 meters out, which gives you great field position, which is the difference between a team attacking again or having to kick again to get field position. So I think that set piece that night was massive for us, and I think the front row just stood up and got us awesome field position and allowed us to attack and put pressure and scoreboard pressure on England.
Tell me something about that night. How big was the party afterwards?
Yeah, no, Connor, yeah, it was a big night. I think Brian as well, but yeah, it was
afterwards. Barnett went on for about 3 months. Jesus, young Jesse's still intoxicated.
Yeah, and when you came back, obviously, in the trip through South Africa, in the streets of our country, that must have been something very special, Jess. And Brian's done it before.
Yeah, that whole bus tour through all the different cities and whatever. And I think what Brian touched on as well is going back to a township of like where Siya Kolisi or Makazole Mapimpi grew up. I think that's when you realize what this World Cup victory actually did for our country. I think me being back on the farm here in Hibadine on the South Coast, I think there's little boys, little guys on the farm here asking for rugby balls, and they know about Siya Kolisi, and they know who Brian Habana is, or who 100 Pollard is. So I think that's been pretty exciting, and I think this victory's given everyone hope again, and given everyone. Yeah, I think when the Boks win, the whole country's happy. So it's been really good.
Brian,
I'm on the call. You don't have to. Sorry, Barney. Just on the Zoom call.
Another Kes boys arrived. We've got 2 Kes boys here. We've got 2 Maritzburg College boys here because KP's also arrived. Brian, I want to ask you. Next year is the British Lions tour. You played in the last British Lions tour. It's a massive occasion. We know that. We see how many Englishmen and how many Brits arrive in this country. How big that tour is. But it's almost like winning a World Cup, beating the British Lions. And we'll never forget that second test at Loftus where you scored the great try. Mornay Steyn kicked the penalty to win it. How special is the British Lions tour?
Yeah, I just want to say, Jess, sorry, those little boys on the farm definitely don't know who Brian Van is, but please keep them on the Zoom call. Don't just say things, dude.
The ones actually jersey with your name and your number on the back. So I'll send you tomorrow.
Okay, no, I'm flattered. Thanks for buying that for him, Jess. Did you get it off Barney and them from Tennessee? Yeah, Barney, I think again the Lions tour is probably, I don't want to call it the pinnacle of rugby because again for us the World Cup is certainly that. I think for me the opportunity to get to play in that series was just so unique, so special. They test Centurions that have never got the opportunity to play against the Lions, and you know with us being in the Southern Hemisphere, it only comes around once in every 12 years. So you're pretty fortunate if you do get that within your career. You're even more fortunate if you get selected for the group of 25 to 30 that gets opportunity to face the Lions. And what a series. I think for me, we sort of gone in with a lot of confidence. The Bulls had a really good Super Rugby, and our preparation had gone extremely well. And we came up against a pretty decent Lions side with some of the best rugby players in the world. And that second test was probably one of the most brutally physical games I've ever been involved in. You'll remember some of the hits from Brian O'Driscoll and Donnie Rousseau. I had a pretty decent one on Tommy Bowe with the one kickoff. And I think for us, winning that series in the manner in which it did, I'll probably say honestly, we weren't at our best in that second test. And if we were playing in today's game, Schalk Burger might not have been on the field for the full 80. He might have been sent off after 6 or 7 minutes. But yeah, it was absolutely epic. And I think for us, we as rugby players, we talk about the camaraderie of the game, the spirit of the game. Running out onto Loftus with that east stand of Loftus with 20-odd thousand Virgin Outline supporters was anything out of a dream, to be brutally honest. But I think for us, seeing the work that the Lions were doing in the communities over that 8-9 weeks, they were building rugby fields, they were handing out. So yes, the games are good, the rivalry and everything, and it is always good to get one back on the line. So after 97, 2009 was very special. And again, we're now going to the third Lions series where the Springboks are the reigning world champions. So it's going to be exciting to see next year. And hopefully it all goes ahead, COVID-19 permitted.
Great. Just before we go to the cricketers. Yeah.
Yeah, just before we go on, can we take a 30-second break and hear from one of our sponsors? Mantis Security are one of our are one of our sponsors this evening. We're going to show a very quick video, but just to remind the approximately 1,600 people who are watching us at the moment that you can ask a question to any of the panelists. All you have to do is click on the Q&A button at the bottom of Zoom, and you can post a question there for any of our panelists. And for people watching on YouTube, you just put it in the comment section, and Benji and I will be trolling the comment section of YouTube as well and posing those questions a little later on in the evening. But in the interim, Dan, if I could just ask you quickly to show us what Mantis are doing and to thank them for all of their sponsorship for so many of these web broadcasts that we do.
Well done, Mantis. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Barney. So from this Barney and friends back to your Barney and friends, and maybe you want to start with a question that Graham Smith just posed to Brian Habana. He wanted to know, how does Brian Habana keep his biceps or maintain his biceps?
Very mischievous question from another Kes boy. Welcome to Graham Smith.
No, it's pretty funny. No, I don't. I'm very fortunate that it is mostly natural. My go-to snack for the evening was zoo cookies, so it's got nothing to do with what I eat or how I train.
Just a quick question for you three guys before we get to the cricketers. Your toughest opponent, direct opponent ever, Jesse, Ryan, and Gavin Hunt. I want to know who's the best soccer player you've ever coached. So we're going to start off with Jesse, your toughest opponent as a centre.
I think it would definitely be a guy like Ma'a Nonu. I think coming onto the international scene, I think he was a guy that had a great skill set and a big physical guy as well. I think you're always guessing whether he was going to distribute, whether he was going to tuck and run, or whether he's going to put a little grubber in behind. So I think, yeah, all around great player, great skill set, and I think he was definitely one of the guys that were up there.
Ryan?
Yeah, Barney, I think for me, again, direct opponents, there were many, and I think it's sort of unfair to name one, but the toughest opponent I got to face, and I say that every Q&A or involvement I'm involved in, Richie McCaw. And the reason I say that is as a team, you'd always go into a week planning, analyzing, trying to nullify the Richie McCaw threat, and the ability he had to get and stand up when he got extremely, abused at ruck time, got physically, dominated, constantly was able to, in his own way, win over the ref or, lead his team in a way. And, his stats, the way he portrayed his persona as a rugby player, the first captain to win 100 rugby test matches. That's an insane stat. And I say tough because everyone tries to constantly nullify that threat, whether you're playing against the Crusaders, whether you're playing against New Zealand. He stood up every time. He was counted every time. He led his team impeccably well each and every time. And yeah, like I say, we didn't get it right more than what we got it wrong. So, for me, he's definitely the toughest opponent I've come across.
I think most people would agree with that. Gavin Hunt, best soccer player you ever coached? Gavin's muted. We can't hear him. We're going to have to unmute Gavin, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, when I played, there was no television, Barney. It was black and white. So, but the best player I played against was certainly Aishnet Chilengwe, who played for Chiefs, who went to America, in the early 80s. He was fantastic. Certainly a player that could have played at a much higher level. So he was fantastic for me. Teenage Dudler, people like that were really household names in South African football, you know. The best player I coached, certainly Benny. I mean, Benny was fantastic at 17. He was certainly a player that who went on and won a Champions League, Benny McCarthy. You know, he's achieved great things as a football player, you know, in his career. Maybe underachieved a little bit, could have certainly played a little bit more, but he had some good seasons at Ajax Amsterdam, won the league. You know, Blackburn, he was fantastic there, and then Porto, where he won his Champions League. So it was good to see his progression, taking a young boy at 17 from, you know, really from the really back streets of Cape Town, and see how well he's done his career, you know. So it was really a proud moment for me.
Thank you very much. Can we get Graham Smith and Kevin Peterson on here, please, Dan? Let's put Graham and Kevin on.
Yep,
Biff, can you hear me?
They're there with you. If we can ask Kevin to turn on his camera.
KP.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, Kev.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Bon. Good. I don't know why the dogs have just started barking. It's crazy. Just hold on 1 second.
Hope you're not getting robbed.
Jesus.
Oh, I don't blame them.
Okay, hello, Biff.
I'm not in Joburg.
Hello, Biffy.
Hey, Bonds, how are you? You're looking a bit red in the face there, Bonds. Are you nervous?
No. Not with you around. Never. Graham, I just want to ask you a question. Obviously, it's been a big week now with the announcement of a brand new cricket competition in this country. Very innovative, something we've never seen before. You know, it's really opened up a few eyes, and I think it's quite exciting. Can you tell us more about it? Because a lot of people still don't know how it works.
I think once the game is played, everyone will get it quite easy, Bonds. You know, we just obviously in COVID, we had some time to debate, and you know, the conversation started out about how we could be the first live sport event. You know, COVID style. How's that going to impact sports? How do we be creative? And obviously, in my role, I've got to look down the pipeline as well into schools programs, club programs. And we started debating, you know, why can't 3 teams play against each other? And Paul Harris, he's been a very successful businessman in his life, not the left arm spinner. First ran Paul Harris. And we started debating rules, myself, Mark Boucher, and a few others, and it just sort of grew from, Mark Nicholas came a little bit down the line, and then we grew it, and to a point now where, you know, we've got our first game on the 27th. We're launching it to the world. I really like the format. I think it's exciting. I think it's a format that can be taken. You know, imagine 3 schools, 3 clubs, especially, you know, introducing new cricketing nations, new schools that aren't you know, popular from a cricket perspective, that are learning the game. You know, I think it has a lot of traction ahead of it. I mean, hopefully the first one.
What are the rules?
Well.
What are the
Kev,
rules?
you never really were interested in the rules, so don't worry, boy. You're a Maritzburg boy. Well, I'll write them down for you.
No, I think everybody wants to know what the rules are, not what you're talking. We've been talking about for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you can visit 3team.cricket. They're all on there for you, Kev, on the website. Pretty nicely laid out. But yeah, Barnes, so we're putting on the Solidarity Cup, and the objective is to raise as much money for charity. We've been blessed to form part of the Solidarity Fund, and we're sort of linking it to all the charities in and around our game of cricket. We've been lucky enough to get some good sponsors on board with Rain, Take a Lot, Mr. Delivery, and Outsurance at this stage, and hopefully a few more to come. And we're hoping to hand over a really nice check for a lot of people in and around the game of cricket, and schemes that our players are working on, and try and give over a large amount of money to helping people that have suffered through this COVID experience.
Okay, great. Hello, Kev. KP, nice to have you.
Hello, Bon.
KP, first of all, we're not going to talk cricket because KP, you know, when I first met you, you never knew much about conservation. You thought rhino was a scrumming machine, or, you never knew much about it. But you have become a fighter for the cause of conservation, and particularly in this country. I know in India as well and around the world, but particularly here. Tell everybody how this came about and what you've been doing in the fight against rhino poaching.
2013, Graham, Jakes, Jake's Callis, that is, Bouchy, had a fundraising event in South Africa when I just finished with England. And we went away to the bush after playing Cricket Sixes, which was their charitable setup that they had set. And we played the cricket. I think, Barney, you bought me.
Yes.
And
I dropped you.
And you dropped me. It was the first time in my life and in my career that I was happy to be dropped.
Yeah.
So coming back to Africa, playing in a Cricket Sixes tournament, I had about 78,000 flying fish by the time you dropped me. So no wonder. Next day we went into the bush. You were on that trip as well. And
Yes.
I mean, when you're on the conveyor belt of international sport, albeit as an English cricketer, and you're playing the summer season and then you're playing the winter season, oh boy, you've got 2 winter tours unless you're touring with the Ashes. You have South Africa away, then you'll go to New Zealand, or you'll go to Sri Lanka and India in the winter, but then you'll have 7 test matches here through the summer. And I lost my connection to South Africa. And that weekend that we went away, I sort of got my connection back into Africa, and I got my roots back into Africa. I started to smell what was happening in Africa, and I started to understand what was happening to the conservation work that Bouchy in particular was doing out there. And I just said to Bouch, when I realized how catastrophic the situation was, in particular with the rhino, how can I help? What can I do? And at that stage, I was pretty much front page, back page, middle page of every single newspaper. So I was trying to use my profiling at that time for good. And he just said, well, let's just start jumping on the raising awareness. So I did that for a while, and then I started playing cricket games for conservation for the rhino. I started batting for rhino. So we've raised a crazy amount of money for the conservation efforts in South Africa. We work very closely with South African national parks. We have just, we're almost, I mean, we'll announce it very soon, but we're just about to educate thousands of children in and around the Kruger National Park through all the fundraising work that we've done. Just because I have my own lodge around the Kruger, on the Kruger, and I know how much poverty there is there. I know that when Cyril last night talks about washing your hands with water, washing your hands with soap, well, I know how far these people are walking just to go and get water. And so my heart bleeds for these people, and to be able to actually do something positive, to be able to create something special and unique. And Barney, you've been on our legacy experience a couple of times into the Kruger, and the work that we've done there and the amount of money that we've raised there, we've just been so lucky to have so many cool donors like yourself and fundraisers to be able to assist in making, especially around the Kruger National Park, a little bit more of a happier place for so many people.
Well done. That's brilliant work. And that's one of our charities tonight, is one of yours that you've told us to that you'd like us to help tonight. New details will be coming up on the screen. And anybody who wants to donate must please donate to a very, very worthwhile cause that is very well involved with conservation. Graham, I'm going to come back to you about leadership. Graham Smith was made captain when he was 20. You made many mistakes in the beginning. You were lucky that the selectors stuck with you, but I think because they stuck with you and you learned so much in those first 3 or 4 years of your captaincy, that probably made you the great leader that you became. Would that be a fair statement, Biff?
Yeah, thanks, Barnes. I mean, I've talked about it a lot. I mean, at 22, I was always going to have a huge learning period. I think in those first couple of years, the one thing that I was lucky from my own perspective is that I scored runs, and that people gave me the time to grow. I think South African cricket in itself needed some time to grow and to develop. And certainly myself as a leader was no different. And it was really around the 2007 period, I was 26 years old and I'd been in a job for 4 years, that I first really felt in control or understood the leadership job. I mean, it's not only about being strong tactically, it's about, all the different challenges that come with being a national captain, from politics to sponsors to the networks to building an environment, and then, taking on the tactics of the field. And a captain in cricket is it's a very influential role and probably the primary leader in a cricket team. So, yeah, it took me time to get there, made a lot of mistakes, bumped my heads a few times. everywhere I went, people were taking me on. So you become a little bit defensive and a little bit closed off. And as you grow into it and become more experienced, you learn to sort of maybe be a bit more vulnerable and open up, and certainly to the public and to the journos and to everybody else. I was really lucky that I was able to turn that around and that I was supported, and had a really great period after that as a captain. It was tough up front, really tough. There were some dark moments, and times where you're asking yourselves a lot of questions, and you've got to work through and handle pressure. But it's quite rewarding when you can get through that and see what you're able to build after that.
Kevin, you were made England captain, Kev.
Yeah.
Probably the wrong time for you, or what went on with your captaincy in England? It didn't last very long.
No. Played against Graham once, beat Graham once. Thank you very much. Before you start, Smith. No, I wasn't very good, Barn. Up until that stage, everything that I touched turned to gold in terms of batting, in terms of winning things. And so dealing with failure, not understanding and accepting people that were homesick, I just thought that playing cricket, international cricket, was the greatest thing you could ever possibly do. And you should just be grateful of everything. You should just give 100%. And you shouldn't be homesick. You shouldn't accept bad form. You should just continue and just be the happiest person out there. So when I took over the England team, we had some players that didn't like traveling, some players that were in really bad form. And the political situation between myself and the hierarchy was a fractured one, because I was in bed with India in the IPL. And at that time, Giles Clarke, who was the then ECB chairman, absolutely hated Lalit Modi. And there was a huge ding-dong between the ECB and the IPL. And I'd been bought for a crazy amount of money in the IPL. So I clearly wanted to play the IPL. And the ECB didn't want it. And I suppose the timing just wasn't right, Barn. The experience of leadership, and I mean, Graham did an incredible job at such a young age to be able to lead South Africa through such I should say, a interesting period, because of the fact of how many things a South African captain has to deal with in terms of the politics, the sponsors, selection, senior players, the players he had to get rid of. And it's amazing that he did so well, but you can see that he's a great leader of men. And I mean, our relationship has grown from strength to strength, and we're really, really good buddies now. And it's something that I admire about him in a way in which he led South Africa through such a good period. And that's as nice as I'm going to be about him.
I thought
because I wasn't very good. And I wish I had his leadership. I suppose I wish I had the backing that he had clearly from his board to be able to make tough decisions and get away with making those tough decisions through being backed by the hierarchy. Because I was asked to make a couple of big decisions. I made a couple of big decisions. And the next day I woke up and front page of the newspapers, I was just hung out to dry. And I suppose my relationship with the ECB from 2009 to around 2009, 2010 was a very fractured one.
Yeah, it sure was. I'm going to go back to other panelists. I want to know, we've got two merits.
Barney, but just before we do, we're getting a lot of requests. Kevin was speaking earlier about rhino conservation, and we've had a number of requests from people who want to know how they can donate to help the cause. So Kevin, if you could just, we've now put up the careforwild.co.za website. If you could just very quickly talk us through how people can donate to help your cause.
Yeah, this is a rhino orphanage. This is the most beautiful place on the planet. It is a place where Petronelle is the mother of all these orphans. There are plenty of these animals whose parents have been brutally killed in the Kruger National Park, in and around the Kruger National Park. And they get choppered in from the Kruger on the Sandparks helicopters. And it's literally, Petronelle gets rung within 15 minutes. It's ETA 15 minutes, and she's got to get everything right. The rehabilitation process there is something phenomenal. She truly believes that she is the umbilical cord for these animals. She sleeps with them all night if they need it. She gives them CPR. She's one of the most beautiful, beautiful people that really struggled through coronavirus because of the volunteers that have been, they normally get plenty of volunteers. Volunteering programs been down, funding has been down. So if anybody wants to feel a little bit generous in making sure that she can continue to safeguard these animals amidst the problems that coronavirus has given everybody, then it would be greatly appreciated. It honestly, one of the most beautiful places. Graham's been there. We shot a documentary there together. I mean, it's a pretty cool joint, eh, Smithy?
Yeah, Barnes, I can back Kev up. I mean, Petronella and her team do incredible work. It's one of those places that you go to, or you get the chance to experience, and it really touches you and humbles you. And I think, what Kev has done in terms of the money that he's raised and the people he's helped, and how he's put conservation in South Africa on the map, I think he deserves a lot of credit. It really hurts me to be able to compliment him, but he's been, his passion for conservation, using his network to raise awareness and funds has been, terrific to be a part of and to share it. It's something unique, and everyone that's on this call, if you get a chance to give a little, or a chance to go and experience Petronel's, what she's got going on in Care for Wild, please take advantage. Sorry, my kids are. It's that time of the evening, Barnes. So some background noise.
So, guys, so just to tell you, we've put the careforwild.co.za donate link into the chat button as well. So if people get an opportunity, it would be absolutely amazing if people actually just clicked on the link and made a donation in your guys' honor. It really would be fantastic. And awesome. Barney, before I stop interrupting, I know that Brian Habana has to go pretty soon. There's a little song that we just wanted to play for him before you have some final words with him. So Dan, if we could...
Brian, just going back to you quickly before you leave. Thank you very much for joining us. And
so Dan, if you can put on our musical interlude, please, Dan.
Die bal vir Brian. Gee die bal vir Brian. Gee die bal vir Brian. Brian, Havana Brian, Havana Brian, Havana Brian, Brian, Havana Brian, Havana Brian, Havana Brian, Brian, Havana, held van Zuid-Afrika, Brian, Havana, Brian, Havana, held van Pretoria, Brian, Havana, Brian.
Brilliant. Let's do the famous Havana Gila music. You know that the Jews love so much.
We need to translate that for Kevin. Sorry, I'm not sure you can understand Afrikaans anymore.
Brian banana or Habana?
Brian Habana. Pretty easy.
Brian, thank you very much. Brian, thank you very much for joining us. It really has been a privilege to have you here. Just before you leave, how important was Kez in your rugby career, going to King Edward School?
Yeah, pretty important on various different levels. Obviously, post 95, every boy, or mostly every boy in South Africa growing up, wanted to be a rugby player. I've never played the game before, so my first ever game of rugby was for the under-14 G side at King Edwards, under, Graham will know, sort of Mr. Tati Faber, who was, this inspirational father figure that sort of nurtured this coming together of various different, young schoolboys and sort of turning them into, a rugby passionate playing. And it was really important. I think there were a lot of great life lessons that I learned throughout my time at Cares. I was at school a year early, so I was only 17 when I matriculated. So I unfortunately didn't get a shot at 2 years of playing for the Reds. Missed out playing with Joe Panique and that sort of thing, which was pretty gutting. But there were a lot of learnings. I'll never forget my under 16 year where I got dropped from the H side to the C side because I went to go play for the Lions, and the coach and one or two of the assistant coaches didn't think that putting this provincial effort above the school was something. So, and then getting to play for the Reds, getting to be a hero, for so many boys, and getting looked up to, sort of instilled some great values, and that then allowed me to build on and carry on dreaming. Literally fitted with skills to, again, not just from a sporting perspective, but from an academic perspective, which was constantly highlighted throughout our upbringing. And the brotherhood, the environment around King Edward's, and how we came together as a school. And schoolboy rugby in South Africa is, one of the most incredible things to be a part of. Yeah. The passion. I think they're going to be, pretty soon pulling much bigger crowds, if they're not already, than Super Rugby, because of the situation with SANZAAR. So pretty fortunate for that. Obviously, where I started my rugby was instilled with a lot of the values about not only being a rugby player, but life values. And I call a lot of people sir, ma'am, or by their names. And I think, Cares was a great stepping stone for me. It gave me the ability to learn more about life, and again, in that environment of schoolboy rugby passion and everything that instilled with us. Myself and Graham. Graham, Biff, were you a day boy? You were a day boy, weren't you? You went we were too soft to be in the boarding house, so I wasn't in schoolhouse or anything like that. But felt pretty tough nonetheless coming out of there.
Brian, a lot of guys are posting here that you are still their kid's hero. It's coming all over the screen. I don't think people have forgotten about you. No one forgot about the great Brian Habana. Thank you very much for joining us. We will speak to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, German. Barney, to everyone, please look after yourself. Keep safe.
Cheers,
hopefully, as South Africans, we get through this stronger. And to the 4 other gentlemen on the call, great leaders. I'm not going to say Maritzburg ever beat Cares while I was there, so good to know that.
We never played you, but our third team played you. Actually, you probably played us when you were playing 14 Gs.
Your A team, the under 14 Gs played your A team, Kev. I know, and I mean, I think they even put Graham on at fullback for the Reds in his matric year against Maritzburg College.
No, we had a desperate year. That's the only reason I made it be. Don't put me in your bracket.
Where is Jesse?
Buddy. I've got a question, Bonds. I want to know who has their shirt of more on Instagram. Is it Kevin or Jesse?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. That is tough. Whoa.
We winners, so it's all right. It doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it. But we can afford to take our shirts off.
Graham, at least you do a push-up. Kev hasn't done a push-up in about 20 years. Look at
that. My chest is about as big as Barney's calves.
Jesse Kriel, tell us about Maritzburg College and the role it played in your life as a rugby player. And you had a twin brother as well who played with you.
Yeah, I think obviously a great school. I was actually there last week training on the field. It's like the first time I've been back in about 6 or 7 years, I think, which is not great. But it was good to be back. Awesome school. I was lucky enough to get some great opportunities. Went to Murchison as a youngster and got a scholarship to Maritzburg College. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have ended up going there. So I was very lucky. Great school. I was in the boarding house there. Like I said, given great opportunities, and I think, like Brian also said, you learn values. You learn. We had things called our core values, and I think it's things that I've taken on into my sporting career, and I think also as a person growing up. So I was very fortunate to go to a good school, and very grateful for that.
Gavin Hunt was the only one in this out of the 5 of you who didn't go to a great school, but that doesn't mean anything in this award because look how he made it in football. Gavin, let's hear about your school, who no one's ever heard of. Is Gavin there?
Still haven't.
I don't think.
Lockdown Gremlins. Mute. He's on mute. Lockdown Gremlins.
Kevin, I know there he is. Gav, your school?
I went to about 6-7 schools. My parents couldn't pay school fees, so I kept moving. One year I went to the football schools. There was and we had to play rugby, and we used to play those Afrikaans schools. My God, they used to give us 50-0. None of our footballers we didn't want to tackle. Yeah,
Kevin.
So they used to put up and under. We used to volley the ball back. Yeah.
I know that KP has told me the reason he was so tough out there in the cricket field, mentally strong. One of the reasons was that he went to a great school, and that was Maritzburg College. Am I right?
Well, and I tell you what, there's something that is quite unique. Anywhere you go in the world, you meet a South African, one of the first sentences, apart from how's it, does it going, but, is what school did you go to?
Yeah,
and I think
true.
that's something that resonates so much with the upbringings that we've all had in South Africa. And it's humbling to know that so many amazing sportsmen still find time to go back to their schools. I mean, for Jesse to go back to Maritzburg College only a couple of weeks ago, people feel proud of the schooling system. When you see that school sport is still on television, your universities, your university sport is still on television. I mean, it's quite amazing. Here in the UK, yes, the Premier League started last night. Cricket's just about to start. You don't get any school sport. You certainly don't get any club sport here. You get obviously the bigger clubs that are professional, but the universities, they don't really feature unless it's Oxford versus Cambridge in the rowing race just up the road here. So it's quite a unique thing that South Africans have, and I think it's absolutely special. And for you to be so proud of your upbringing and so proud of your school, it's amazing.
Brian, what's so funny? Mr. Banner is laughing his head off there.
No, this is just sent me a thing about Graham's hair. My biceps are maybe as big as Graham's hair.
Yeah. Well, we quite. I actually saw that. I saw that. Graham, I just want to ask you a question. What's it like being in cricket administration now that you are director of cricket at CSA? What's it like being a player all your life and then going into administration? It must be much tougher for you.
Bonds, I mean, it's been interesting. I mean, we've got a lot of challenges. I mean, it's well documented, some of the structural problems we've had at the end of last year, even in the press this last week. And we're really working hard behind the scenes to repair a lot of relationships, to put us on the right path. I mean, my focus is obviously on the cricket, but you get pulled into commercial, you get pulled into the board, and we've had board inductions all day today. It's been full on, Bonds? But I guess, it's one of those things where you get stuck in, and if you can come out the other side with success, then it's great. So we're working hard, myself and Jacques and a lot of the operations team, to fix a lot of the challenges that have been there. I guess, COVID hasn't helped as well. It's put us all at a distance, and it's made the financial challenges greater as well. All our sponsors, all our corporates, all the broadcasters are suffering. Sports had to relook itself from a business perspective as well. So yeah, it's really challenging times. It's been good for growth. It's been good for learning as well. We're a pretty big corporate, learning a lot of the corporate slang and the corporate do's and don'ts. But we're getting stuck in there, Bonds. I mean, I think we've done a lot of good work. And I'm hoping by the end of the year, if COVID-based, we will come out the other side.
Okay, well, we certainly are. Just by the way,
can we have a quick commercial break for
we
Virtual
can certainly
Solutions?
and I just want to thank Mantis Security again, my dear friend Mark Kramer, for sponsoring this. Thank you very much to Mantis Security again.
So this is
before you do that, I'm
first
just going to say cheers. Sorry.
Cheers.
Ciao, Brian. And left hand, I learned my lesson.
You have to actually now down that one as well, because you only had like a eighth of a glass. Well done. Thanks, Howie.
Okay, deal.
Brian, see you,
Everybody, thanks for having me. Have a good one.
Ciao, boys.
I'll go.
I've been asked here, Gavin Hunt, do you plan to continue coaching? I know you do, because I'm your agent. You definitely plan to continue coaching.
Before he answers that question, let's hear from Virtual Solutions.
Okay.
Dan, if you can just put them on, please.
Thank you very much to Virtual Solutions, another one of our sponsors here tonight. We really do value your sponsorship. Gavin, just a quick one to you before we're going to let you go, Gav. Obviously, we discussed what a hard week it's been. but you've got such a great record, one of the best any coach could ever have, your CV. So there must be big things for you in the pipeline as well.
Well, Barney, I have to carry on coaching. I've got an ex-wife. I mean, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, I've got to keep going as long as I can. Yeah. Look, Barnes. I mean, it's very difficult. It's just been sprung on me this week, and my life's been turned upside down. But that's the life of a coach, in any sport. So obviously there's a few opportunities, hopefully, and I just got to be patient and try and make the right decision, and see what happens.
Okay, Gav, we're going to let you go now. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Kev. Nice to see you, boys. Cheers.
See you, Gav. Bye, coach.
Cheers, Gabby.
Jesse, one more question for you, Jess.
Yeah.
Kevin Cohen wants to know, how important was the leadership of Siya Kolisi at the World Cup?
Yeah, I think Siya, as you all know him, great leader. I think the thing that was cool was he kind of was honest when he came in the beginning, and everyone knew his kind of story. And I think he encouraged everyone to also open up about their backgrounds and where people came from. And I think that allowed us to be comfortable in each other's spaces. And I think people accepted each other for who they were. And I think in any sporting team or a thing like that, I think there are obviously egos, there are people with different backgrounds and things like that. And I think everyone kind of understood what we needed to do to get the best out of each other. And I think that's where Siya was really instrumental. And I think he allowed each and every one of us to be who we wanted to be. And he knew what made us tick. And I think that's a very important thing that a captain needs to do in a successful team. So I think that is what Siya did really well as a captain.
Jess, you can also go now. Thank you very much. And I'll speak to you soon. And
Jess, where are you playing your rugby?
Jess is playing Japan. What's the future, Jess, for you? Your future?
Yeah, I'm based in Tokyo now, playing for the Canon Eagles. It's been an awesome experience. I've been there for one season now, and obviously cut short. But I'll be heading back there for a preseason. Our season was obviously cancelled, so heading back there for a preseason as soon as their travel bans and are finished and flights open. And hopefully I'll be joining up with the Springboks as well when they start again, training squads and things like that. So some exciting times ahead, and I'm just enjoying.
Jesse,
just let me know if you need a training partner. I'm ready.
So, Graham, I don't know if you're quite in shape.
I mean,
but
your frame and my frame are very similar.
He bench presses 300 kgs, which you weigh.
Yeah, I've heard.
Well, Jesse, thank you very
much. Hold on, Bonnie, hold on.
Yeah.
Jesse, what's the standard of rugby like in Japan?
Good question, Kevin.
I get this question a hell of a lot, and I think the standard is awesome. I think you've had so many guys come over, guys from the All Blacks. I mean, you've got a guy like Ryan Crotty, Sam Whitelock. You've got guys from Australia, David Pocock. You had RG Snyman, Damien de Allender. You literally Malcolm Marks, a whole lot of guys. So every team you play against week in and week out have got all these guys that have kind of played all over the world and are still competitive. They're not just going there for a quick buck. I think guys are still quite competitive, and I think says you.
Yeah.
Anyway,
just be honest. Just admit it. You're going there for the loot. It's fine.
So the standard has been really awesome. I think the Japanese players have got they've become really, really good, and I think the cool thing is there's a lot of ball in play there, not as much kicking of the ball, so that's been quite cool. It's a lot of fun, and it's been something cool.
What about the language barrier? Is there a language barrier?
Absolutely, I think that's been tough. You obviously. You've got your translators in every team. So a session that would normally take 20 minutes would now takes 40 minutes because you've got a guy translating things and stuff like that. And also the Japanese, you have your company workers that are at the company half of the day. So they come in and their Japanese isn't great, but their English isn't great. And then us foreigners, Japanese isn't great. So I think there is a barrier, but it's funny. You can go out and have beers with the boys, and everyone just laughs at each other, and you have a good time, and you become good. I think the beers is probably the thing that gets a team together, and I think that's what's been sorting the language barrier out in Japan.
And Jess, obviously the British Lions next year. Big thing in your life? Is that a major goal of yours?
Definitely, Barney. I think when you're chatting to Brian earlier, I was starting to think about that. I think every guy in the current setup is definitely, that's on the back of his mind. And it's something that we're all training towards and we all want to be involved in. So, I think Rassie's, it's been awesome that Rassie's allowed guys to go overseas and do the things that they want to and still be in contention for selection. I think that's something that excites all of us. And I think it's going to be really good come next year. Let's hope it's not postponed or anything like that, and that we do get to face up against the British and Irish Lions.
All right, Jess, you're a champion, my friend. Thank you for joining us. We're going to
Cheers,
say
guys.
goodbye. I'll speak to you soon.
Jesse, see you, buddy.
No, we're going
Cheers,
to.
Jess.
Ciao, boy.
So, Barney, before we progress, we want to just hear from our last sponsor for the evening, and that is Musgrave Gin. And we're so excited because this is the first time that, in fact, we've had Musgrave Gin on as a sponsor. And I can genuinely, honestly say I am a user of their gin. Their pink gin is absolutely spectacular. So Musgrave Spirits is a local woman-owned spirits business founded by Simone Musgrave. Musgrave, in fact, pioneered the pink gin trend in South Africa and was the first in the bespoke gin business to launch 5 years ago at the beginning of this trend. 2 gins, Musgrave Original, and you'll be delighted to know that it is now the only kosher gin in South Africa. And Musgrave Pink, they tell the story of adventure and bravery, and they draw on Simone Musgrave's family heritage story to weave the flavors of Africa into their botanical story. And I can tell you, their pink gin is absolutely spectacular. To follow the success of the gins, Musgrave has now launched 2 delicious brandies, celebrating the heritage of Cape brandy and disrupting the traditional category of brandy with flavor, and a brand that celebrates luxury and beauty called Musgrave Copper. And I would absolutely, as a user of the Musgrave spirits myself, I would absolutely recommend it to everyone. So a huge thank you to Musgrave Gin and Musgrave Copper for sponsorship of tonight's event.
Thank you very much. We will be drinking Musgrave Gin, without a doubt. Now I've got my 2 cricket buddies here. We're going to have a little bit of banter. First of all, you 2 oaks never liked each other. I mean, I never liked you either, KP. No one liked you, in fact, in this country. And Graham and you
in particular. There's a bad line, Bond. What did you say?
And Graham and yourself in particular didn't like each other in the beginning. I can see Romy in the background. Hello, Romy. Graham's beautiful wife.
I was pouring another whiskey, my wife.
Okay, good man. Kev, is it true? Graham a fatty at Lords.
Not at Lords, in Durban.
I was at Durban.
Durban, he tried to call me a fatty, yeah.
Not nice. And a fatty. Yes.
A-T-T-Y.
But anyway,
yes,
you
Kev
2.
Gone.
Now Kev's still there. You 2 actually, you sorted your problems out. You become good mates now. And
we're acquaintances.
How many times did Kevin win a test series against the Proteas?
Bonds, we don't need any fingers to count that.
Getting back to the serious stuff here, KP, is the IPL going to happen this year? And if so, where? The IPL?
Bon, I don't think it's going to happen this year. I just think that there's a lot of struggle in India at the moment. They're really struggling. In Mumbai in particular, the monsoon season has just started there. And it's quite I think it's quite a difficult task with 600 million people who are socially probably at the bottom of the pecking order, to be very politically correct in terms of where they find themselves. There's 400 million people in the middle class in India. There's 1.2 billion people that live in that country. So to control a virus in a country like that would be a Herculean effort. They lock the country down. They're still fairly much locked down. They try to have some sort of industries back, but the transmission rate is increasing at a phenomenal rate throughout the country. Some cities are a little bit better than others, but they're trying to get the economy back. Cricket, again, I spoke to some Virat, Rohit, these guys, they've got no idea when they're going to play cricket again. And I mean, as Graham knows, the BCCI or India, if they've got a 3-day break, the BCCI try and plug a test match into the 3-day break. They play that much cricket. So it's quite a strange scenario that they find themselves in, that South Africa is going to play now next weekend. They're going to go and play the Solidarity Cup. You've got England and the West Indies playing on the 8th of July. You've got Pakistan that are going to come to England. And you've got all these great Indian players and an Indian Premier League when they go, we don't know when we're going to play cricket again. It's really sad, actually.
Really sad. Graham, end of August, the talk is that India are going to come here to play in 3 T20 matches. Is that realistic?
Well, it's a different one to talk about now because we are in discussions with them, and the calendar. I think for us it's exciting if we can fit it in the calendar year. We are talking about various other dates with them and opportunities. Look, I mean, I think everyone would try and push out as much as possible if they had the choice now, Barnes, just to safeguard the itinerary, the FTP, the way sport or cricket in particular works, and especially here in South Africa, is we earn most of our income through incoming tours and broadcast rights. So you want to protect that as much as possible. And I think in some ways we've been blessed that it's been an off season here in South Africa, and that's helped us a little bit, even though it's hurting, our corporate partners, the broadcasters. It was one of the reasons why we started brainstorming this 3-team cricket, and how could we think differently about things instead of thinking that we're safe and almost not being hit. How could we change the narrative? And I think we've done that, and we're trying to think dynamically. I mean, I'm in constant discussion with Saurav and his team at the BCCI. I'm a little bit different to Kev. I think the IPL might happen. I think it's too important to India, the IPL. I mean, even if it happens as an all-Indian competition, I think that the IPL will happen this year. I'm not sure the debate over international travel, the debate over the foreigners, that might still be there. But I think that the
it's
IPL
not an IPL
is crucial
though, without the foreign players, though. But
but I think that
level,
just to get some cricket underway in India is so important to the psyche of the Indian nation.
Yeah.
We know how much is invested in cricket there, from the people, from the broadcasters, from the sponsors. And I think that they would potentially find an opportunity to try and get something going. I think that the Indian government recognise how cricket impacts their people, just to give them some hope. And I mean, I think the interesting one is going to be the T20 World Cup in October. I know I'm talking my own opinion. I don't think that'll happen. We've got no word from the ICC, but I would be surprised if that still went on this current year. And I see the remarks from what's coming out of Australia that it seems to be that way, Barnes. But we're looking at a few dynamic things in South Africa. I think the key for us is to try and get our stuff up and running. I mean, it would be great if we could get India here. I mean, for everyone in the world to play India is the big money spinner for all us nations.
Sure. Kev?
Yes.
I've got a feeling that what do you regard as your best ever test innings is a question I've seen here. I've got a feeling that both your 2 best ever test innings were on the subcontinent, were they?
Yeah, Sri Lanka, 150 in Sri Lanka. That's up there with, that is the best. Not because it was the most spectacular innings or because it was the most popular innings or it's because of the innings that everybody would remember, but it was for me a physical thing. I mean, humidity, I can't deal with humidity. Been Maritzburg boy living in Durban for a while. Humidity is something that I literally cannot deal with. And when you go to Sri Lanka, if any of the viewers have been to Sri Lanka, they'll know how hot Sri Lanka gets. And you get 46, 47 degrees, 100% humidity. As you walk outside, your glasses condense, and it sends you into all sorts of places. And so I never thought that I would physically be able to bat long enough to score 100, especially after our first trip. We had Muralitharan, Chaminda Vaas, we had all those guys running in, Dilhara Fernando, Rangana Herath. It was just, it was a brutal experience. My first trip to Sri Lanka. And going back there my second time, I said, the only way I can score 100 in Sri Lanka is if it's up, it's off. And they bowl a lot of spin. I mean, Lakmal was the one seamer, and They had some other seamer there, but they bowled Ranganaherath, they bowled Tilakaratne, Dilshan, they bowled another guy, Randeep, and some other spinner. And I just thought to myself, I want to get a home and away Test 100 against every major nation. If I can tick Sri Lanka off, the only way I'll tick it off is if I just swing as hard as I can from ball one for as long as I can. And on that day, I got lucky and I got 150 in a session and a half. But I went through 9 pairs of gloves and 4 shirts.
Unbelievable. What an innings. Graham, am I right in saying 2008, Edgbaston, South Africa chasing about 270 odd, Mackenzie ducking a full toss bowled, Cullis ducking a full toss bowled, Flintoff flying in, Panesar turning it, 150 not out, and you hit the winning runs off Kevin Peterson. Was that probably your greatest Test innings?
Yeah, Barnes. I mean, there's a couple throughout the career that stand out, I guess. But I think, the situation, 4th innings, never having won in England, well, certainly not in many years and since readmission. Those are one of those sort of breaking point moments in your team and your own career. You've got to overcome those barriers. And I think to be able to produce an innings like that under pressure, the wicket was spinning a bit. Monty Panesar was ripping it out of the rough. There was obviously side screen issues and a very sort of hostile crowd in Birmingham. And you kind of know that if you don't win in that game, it's always a tough experience having to go to the Oval at the end of a 3-month tour when you're kind of exhausted. You've given everything you can. They normally send you to Derby after that Test match, and you go and you spend a week in Derby before the last Test in the Oval, and you lose all all your oomph for the tour. It just sucks the last bit of energy out of you being in Derby. But I think having been there in 2003, I knew that was just such a key moment if we were going to win the series. Going to the Oval, 1-1, it was going to be tough. So I think you take all of that into consideration. It definitely for me was my best innings, and what a great celebration as well.
I thought your best innings was in Sydney when you walked out with a sprained finger and carried on like you had a broken arm.
It wasn't sprained, it was broken.
My goodness, a little sore little finger, and he walks out there in front of the Australian public, captain of South Africa, like he's got a broken arm. Give it a rest.
Kev,
mate.
just put your wedding ring out there. I'm not sure you can pick that up, boy. Oh, diamonds in there, just to show us there.
Bonnie, I know we're going to go on to viewer questions in a few minutes, but before we do that,
7:30, but
so given Kevin and Graham's relationship with rhinos and wildlife, we thought we'd actually bring on someone else onto the panel. I don't know if you guys know Nadav Ossendriver, who runs Latest Sightings and Kruger Sightings. He is the largest YouTube channel in Africa with about 1.6 billion views. And so, Kevin, I think you've actually retweeted some of the stuff from Latest Sightings.
They do, yeah. They got some amazing stuff. It's incredible. The stuff that they have is just phenomenal.
So Kevin, what we did is we asked Nadav to put together a few of his favorite clips relating to rhinos, which we're going to show you right now. And at the end of that, he's got an amazing campaign because, as you know, in South Africa, game rangers are currently unable to work at all. And many of them are struggling to survive. So he's put together a Back a Buddy campaign so people can contribute towards game rangers. So Nadav, welcome. Great to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be part of one of these Zoom sessions.
Amazing. So as you talk us through, Dan, in fact, is going to play the video of the rhinos that you've put together and talk us through a few of the things that you're seeing and what's happening in the game parks at the moment.
Thanks. So just very quickly, for people who don't know what Latest Sightings is an online community of wildlife lovers who are in the park, whether it's the Kruger, Pilanesberg, or any game reserve. And they share their sightings in real time to help people who are there see more animals. But not only that, it's also to help people around the world really get entertainment and see what's happening in the parks. So I've chosen a few of the rhino videos that we've had just because I know how much KP is involved in rhino conservation and a few of the other people on the Zoom call as well. And for me, we don't do so much in terms of rhino conservation. But there's no better way of kind of showing and showcasing rhinos to people around the world by showing them in their natural habitat. And so I don't know if you can see the video, it's paused on my screen, but you know, at the bottom of each video, you'll see how many views it has. And so this one, for example, has had 6 million views. We've had a rhino video with over 15 million views. And you know, it's 15 million people around the world that have watched these animals naturally in their natural habitat. And we find that when people are learning about these animals, you know, and are kind of learning to love them, it makes them way more proactive in terms of trying to save them and really pushing and being and going out there and doing their part. A group of people who do this on a daily basis are the game rangers and the guides that work in these parks. You know, they're the backbone of tourism, and they taking people from all over the world and taking them on a safari and teaching their guests about animals, not only rhinos, but all of them. And again, for me, that is no better way than, you know, to conserve wildlife is by education. And, you know, with Corona and COVID and the parks being closed, it's completely stopped tourism. And these guides are unable to work. Even though the parks are now open, they still aren't allowed to do business trips. And these guides are a vital part in growing the community. They've shared so many of their amazing sightings with us that really go viral around the world. And so we wanted to, as a community and as Later Sightings, we wanted to try and help and pay them back. And so that's where we started a Back a Buddy campaign, where our target is 100,000 Rand, and give all that money to all the game rangers that have really been part of Later Sightings. And we're almost there. We've raised over 70,000 Rand. And the link to anyone who's watching and maybe has a passion for wildlife and wants to donate, it'd be really appreciated. And if you can, yeah, please do. We're almost there. And the link is backabuddy.co.za/latest sightings. So yeah, you can see it on the screen there. And yeah, thanks for allowing me to present this.
Fantastic, Nadav.
Awesome.
Thanks. And yeah, it's also nice to meet everyone here. And yeah, KP, I always see your retweets and your comments. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope anyone watching can donate.
Well done,
Nadav,
awesome, bro.
Thank you so much for joining us, and let's hope tonight we can actually get you up to the 100,000 Rand mark, and that people watching tonight who have such a passion for wildlife. And KP, I don't know, you're far away from us, but if you ask anyone in South Africa, what is the thing you want to do most when lockdown is over, they all say, we want to go to the bush. That's the top priority.
Don't worry, I'm trying desperately hard to find out when the first flight is from London Heathrow to Johannesburg. I'll be on that, baby.
Fantastic, Nadav. Thank you so much for joining us, and let's try get Nadav to 100,000 Rand tonight, and let's support all of those game rangers around the country who really make such great quality improvements to the lives of all of us. So Nadav, thank you so much.
Thank
well
you.
Well done, buddy.
Yes.
Awesome.
I've got some viewers' questions I'm going to ask. One is for you, Buffy. As CEO, as cricket director, how are we going to ensure that we keep our talent in this country and don't lose players like KP and others to England and county cricket?
Bonds, I don't think there's a foolproof plan, but you've got to ultimately produce the best pipeline you can, show people the pathway. I think there's so many complex discussions in South Africa and reasons why. I think one of the major issues we have is obviously Colpack, and I know that's coming to an end at the end of the year with Brexit. So that's going to help a little bit, but I mean, we've got to improve. We've got to show people the opportunities there, and they've got to be brave enough and feel comfortable enough. I think also there's a degree of people needing, quick wins, and the youth of today need quick wins. Getting to represent your country it's not an easy thing. Kev will tell you the amount of hard work and dedication and the luck of getting your opportunities and taking them is also a key part of getting there. But I guess my job is to try and create the confidence in the system that everyone has the opportunity to get through it and make it to the top.
Kev, a lady called Lynn would like to know, what made you choose cricket ahead of any other sport? Well, Lynn, he can't play any other sport, so yeah, he didn't have much choice.
Well, 5-4 yesterday at Swinley Forest. I was 6-5 today at Beaverbrook Bond. So not too bad. And Chris Froome only just picked me the other day.
Playing against yourself, Kev. Playing against yourself.
In the bike ride. That's, you know what, it's the question. I mean, I think Barney's nailed it. I wasn't very good at anything else.
I knew it.
Pretty simple.
Graham, neither were you good at anything else.
Bonds,
No,
I
he
was a
wasn't.
talented man.
Yes.
I was a talented man, Bonds.
He's good eating.
Graham, there's a question now. Is AB de Villiers still going to play another game for South Africa? Is he coming back?
He's not going to
The
answer
hope-
that. He's not going to answer that.
I mean, the hope
This is
is,
gonna be a
yes, Bonds. I mean,
political
I think he
answer.
answered the question well. I mean, we don't know what the future looks like at this stage. No one knows when the next tour is going to happen. No one knows when the next cricket game, when the World Cup. And I think, someone like AB de Villiers needs a goal. If you're going to bring him back, it's got to be an objective to why you bring him back. Otherwise, invest in the youth and build them and build towards the next opportunity. So, I think we all need to figure out how this path looks going forward. And once we do that, we can start engaging in some conversation.
Benji, you want to ask a question, Benji?
No, Barney, someone keeps keeps asking us and says that you get slaughtered by Kevin at fan court.
At golf?
Oh.
Yeah.
But Barney, be very careful because I've got video evidence.
No, I'm just telling you, Kevin, he's not reading out the questions to you because it keeps saying that KP beats him at fan court.
You
Can
got
I tell
very
you
lucky
something?
at
We
Bangkok,
played.
he won on the last hole.
No, hold on, Bonnie, hold on. You won't play me for money anymore.
Kevin, your handicap needs a bit of work. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody in South Africa can go and have a look at the Handicap Network Association. I'm on there. Every single round goes on there. I play off that handicap. The last time we went to Wibotsi, just at the end of the tour of South Africa in January, I'd absolutely cleaned Barney's pipes all the way up from Cape Town, all the way up to Port Elizabeth. We then got up to Johannesburg. We went up to Wibotsi. I said, Barn, what are we playing for? Oh, I'm not playing you for money anymore. I'm not playing you for money anymore. I said, okay, there's another win.
Benji, there is a bit of truth in that because my golf was suffering at the time. But at my best, when I'm working it both ways at will, he will struggle.
Barney's
Barney,
never beaten me.
can I ask a question from Barry Sanderson? And it's directed at Graham. And he says, Graham, what is the latitude to select the best players? Are there political constraints?
Oh, hello.
Barry?
Yes. Shall I answer that, Biff?
Listen, Alex, it's been a long day. It's 8:30 at night. Barnes said you're going to be on for 55 minutes. Now I'm getting grilled. Can I just enjoy this whiskey, please, man? Jesus. Maybe like I'm at a live press conference with the English.
Cut that question. That's bad. That's not a good one.
Okay, if you don't want to answer that one, we'll give you one from Dylan Burt. He says to Graham, any chance that the tour of the West Indies will still go ahead, but at a later date?
Good question.
Look, I mean, we have been chatting to the West Indies Cricket Board now consistently. I mean, they're in England at the moment. They finished that tour 29 July. We were even exploring about playing our 2 tests there in England, which would need to be hosted by the West Indies and potentially very expensive for them. We're looking at every option possible.
You're coming to stay with me, baby.
Well, Kev, I'll let you know. I've done about 40 golf swings a day in my back garden. Yeah, just grooving. So I'm ready to go. But no, so I mean, the challenges is that we've got to get to potentially Trinidad. The international travel from South Africa to Trinidad is an immense one. I cannot see that happening at this stage. Unless there's drastic changes over the next month. I think that tour is going to be pushed back. But you never know. Things can happen quickly. We look at international sport opening up now, international travel, the economy is opening up on many fronts, and the medical protocols that are in place at the moment and the investment in that medical side now is enormous. I mean, what we've presented to government is so extensive. Yeah, it's mind blowing, and I guess the cost of that as well is something we've got to consider. The cost of keeping a safe environment, keeping our players safe is huge. So I know I'm not giving you an answer, and I don't like to sit on the fence, but it's because we actually don't know. We don't have an answer at this stage. We're all trying to help each other and make it work. And when we can make it work, I think we'll all jump on it and go for it.
Good answer. Just we're going to have to finish pretty soon. My final question to both of you. You're both two of the greatest batsmen the world's ever known, both of you. I want to know who's the best bowler, the most difficult bowler you ever faced in your career. I have a feeling it might be the same guy who you both refer to. Kevin, we're going to start with you, Kev. The best bowler you faced, who gave you the most problems, who wasn't a left-arm spinner?
My easiest wicket when I was a bowler was Smith.
Graham Smith, yeah.
The hardest
You need
bowler
outside Ralph to gun me for that. He's going to say Mohammad Asif. He's going to say any left-arm spinner.
Sorry, Smithy. Biff.
For me, I'm going to say
Fine,
Zaire
I'm just
Khan.
looking for Biff.
Kev, none of us really want to look at your crotch, boy. Just sit back down.
Sorry, I'm just. Whoops.
I know Kev's going to say Mohammad Asif and any left-arm spinner, and I'm going to tell you probably Zaire Khan for me. And also spin, Barnes. You know, growing up in South Africa, you know, especially an opening batter, learning to face pace and the seaming ball is what you grew up on. And then suddenly you arrive in the subcontinent and the ball is spinning square. It's humidity. It's almost like short leg, silly point and slipper laughing at you when that ball's spinning down, and you've got to adapt. So I think, learning to, especially in our era, Kev, the Ajmals, the Warnes, the Kumblis, Harbhajan, the Muralitrans, the real mystery spinners that we had in our area were just incredible. So learning to overcome those guys was immense.
Yeah.
It's very difficult when you go and cover drive and you go and cut the ball through square leg. If you play the conventional way of playing through extra cover, when you start looking to play through the offside, it's not that hard playing spin, if I'm honest, Brian. But Graham's right. Yes, Mohammad Asif.
Why was he so difficult?
It was either I was playing badly against Pakistan whenever I played against Pakistan again when he was there, or he just felt like the ball accelerated off the wicket, and I don't know. I had no idea. I mean, hitting the rope, hitting the seam, it can go any way. When a guy's swinging it or reverse swinging it, you can sort of pick up lines. But when he starts to hit the rope and it feels like it's accelerating, and he also chucked his bumper, so you couldn't really just jump onto the front foot and try and walk at him and take it away like I did to McGrath and Pollock on occasions, because Asif had the ability to chuck a bump and doing you on the head.
Well, gentlemen, it's been fantastic. It's been a great pleasure for me to be your host here today. Tonight we've got a lot of people watching. On behalf of MSC Sports, thank you very much to Graham and Kevin for being here. All our sponsors, thank you very much to Howard and Benji and SA Jewish Report. What a fantastic job you guys are doing with these webinars. And I look forward to doing another one with you. So, yeah, what a great pleasure it has been to host.
Barnes, can I just say thanks, man. We're glad we could jump on. And also to you, your passion for sports is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And I think the reason you get this panel together is that you're a good man, terrible golfer, but a good man.
Cool.
Kev, stay safe in the UK, bud, and we'll catch you soon. And to all the viewers, thank you for logging on and putting up with our banter and our boring conversation.
Cheers. Barney.
Thanks, guys. Barney, you're a legend, buddy.
A huge thank you to Barney, to KP, to Graham. Amazing. Most especially to Dan Stillerman for everything that you do. A huge thank you to you as well. You are the captain of our team here, and let us not forget it. So thank you to everyone for watching. And let us not forget Saturday night, we've got Goldfish live from Los Angeles. We've got Lira, we've got KO, we've got Barry Hilton, we've got Alan Committee, Loyiso Gola. We're all on a major fun party on Saturday night of music and comedy. So just to go through the lineup, Goldfish, Lira, KO, Majosi, PJ Powers, Danny Beaton of her balcony in Cape Town, even Oshi Tukataf is in fact joining, Alan Committee, Barry Hilton, and Loyiso Gola. It's going to be a spectacular fun night of great fun. So if you haven't registered, please go on to excelacademyinc.com/SAJR28, because that will in fact be the 28th function that we've been having under lockdown. Dan, put that image back. People must go and register. Dan's also going to post that in the comments section, and he's going to also stick up the registration link in the comments. So please go register if you haven't already registered. Barney, a huge thank you to you. Benji Porter, thank you. Amazing that you put this together. We've had a number of requests from people. We've had a number of requests, Benji. If you will sign your hat, and Barney can auction it at
No,
his
that
next
can I
sports
tell you
auction.
that's a lie. That's an absolute. Only Barry Sanderson did that, and that's because he told me, he sent me a text the other day, Barney. Barry sends me a text the other day. He says, "Listen, you were great, but you've got a face for radio." That was his. He was compliment. But before we leave, Barney, I just how he keeps thanking me, but you guys stepped in. I know I got a call from Neil. Jill just did an incredible job, and you are just you can see that it goes beyond. We've interviewed a lot of people on this on these webinars, and you can see the respect and admiration that the guys have for you that goes beyond just a kind of client kind of relationship. They really respect you and admire you. And I actually remember seeing you at the test match. I don't know if you remember, what the Boxing Day test at Centurion. Yes. And we were watching Rassie van der Dussen bat in that midday in the nets in the midday sun. That's and right. I even saw just when those guys walk past you, how much they respect and admire you, and it goes, as I say, beyond just a relationship, and they see it deeply. And we really appreciate you playing a part with us.
Well, I just want to say something from us. Never mind what I do. What you guys do to keep the Jewish Report going, and the service you provide every week that we can read a newspaper like that. But also you guys do it as a hobby and as a love for your community. So I admire what you guys do, and Howie, what you do. You do so much, Howard. I mean, we really do, and Dan Stillerman as well. For me, it's an absolute pleasure and honor to have been involved in tonight. And anytime you need me, I'm here for you.
Thanks. Barney, just tell us before we go.
Need you, so don't forget.
Just wait, Howie, just before he goes, just tell us one last, the best test you think your uncle played, and what you think his highlight of his career was.
Can I give you the commentary?
Yeah.
Well, it was 1970. It was the 17th of August. It was about 3:42 in the afternoon. The greatest All Black team ever was here. They hadn't lost for 17 consecutive test matches. Ryan Lahore was the captain. Before the first test, they hammered every provincial team. They were the invincibles. At Loftus that day, the score was 6 each, and the All Blacks got a penalty just outside their own 22, and the late, great Gerard Vivier said it like this. He said, dis die All Blacks wat 'n strafskoppie kry, net buitekant hulle kwart gebied, dan is die eindse sit going met 'n tikskoppie vat. En is going na Brian Lahore. Lahore gaan vir hom vasloop en sit nou mis onder skep die bal in die hardloop. En dan sit hy. En hy druk hom langs die pale. Sit nou mis, druk hom langs die pale. That was his greatest moment ever.
Wonderful.
Can I tell
May
you a
soul
story?
rest in peace, Barney.
Yeah. Thanks,
Barney,
Ben.
can I tell you a story? Because there's a tradition that if there's a Jew in the Springbok team, that the Springbok team always wins. And I think it started with Sid Nomus and an Ockie Geffen and some of the other greats, some of the other great Springboks. And this is a story that Joel Stransky told me.
Yeah.
And he said it was 1994, the year before the World Cup, and Stransky was injured. He was in a leg brace, and he bumped into Dr. Craven. And Doc Craven says to him, Stransky, you better get better. Next year is the World Cup. We need you in the Springbok team, because when we got a Jew in the Springbok team, we always win. And Stransky said, Doc Craven, do you really believe that? He says, no, of course not. But when we lose, we need someone to blame. With that, good night, everyone.
Thank you, Benji. Thanks very much. Daniel, thanks, Dan.
See you on
Cheers,
Saturday
You're a
night.
legend,
It's
Barney.
great. Thank you.
Thank you, boys.
Bye.
Cheers.